Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen Podcast by Eastmans. Now your host, Todd Helms.
This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Leupold Optics. You know, guys, obviously there's a handful of things that I rely upon heavily for wingmen. One being performance eyewear, and Leupold has crushed that category. I thought I knew what good eyewear was, what good sunglasses were. Man, I was wrong. Performance eyewear from Leupold has taken that to the next level for me. Another thing is binoculars. I have to have high-quality binoculars for scouting, for finding birds, and Leupolds bring me all of the qualities that I need in a pair of binoculars. They also make killer everything, as you guys know. So check out Leupold, and thank you for listening to today's podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast. And my guest, I guess it's afternoon where you are, is Cam Hicks. Cam is a professional shooter sponsored by Federal. He is a veteran and a hunter, and we're going to get down to brass tacks. Cam, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me, man. I love the mounts in the background.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So where are you located, Cam?
I live near Elizabethtown, North Carolina.
Okay.
I've lived here for about 10 years. I'm
Cool.
middle of nowhere, southeastern North Carolina.
Perfect. Perfect. What's your weather doing out there? You guys, I saw a hurricane rolling in that way. Is that going to affect you guys?
No, I don't think so. I think we'll be all right with this one. It's just been crazy hot down here. I mean, I've been traveling and came back from England and it was 74 and got over here and it was 98. And I just don't go outside when it's this hot.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I bet your humidity's through the roof too.
It gets crazy hot down here for sure.
Yeah, no fun, man. No
Yes,
fun.
sir.
Yeah, I don't envy you guys that. It's in the 90s out here, but it's like, I don't know, single digit humidity. So it's 90 something isn't bad. And it cools off into the 50s at night. So
Yeah.
starting to feel like fall.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, we're getting ramped up, man. Dove season, grouse season's around the corner. Just jacked up, ready for hunting season. What about you?
I think my first hunt's be right around the beginning of October. I think I'm going to go to Canada. I got invited to go, and we'll see what happens. But I haven't done that one yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Where are you headed in Canada? Do you know?
Near Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Saskatchewan. I don't know anything about Canada. I haven't been up there, so
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it'll be awesome. You'll be shooting geese and ducks and
Brown ducks. They said we're
Yep,
shooting a lot of brown ducks.
Yeah,
Yep.
early in the season, it's brown ducks. You know, you won't know really what you're shooting.
Yeah.
Drake or hen wise until they're in your hand. You know, the nice
Yeah.
thing is it's like 8 ducks, just ducks. You know, because you
Yeah.
can't tell them apart. You know.
Yeah.
When I've been up there, it's been a ton of fun, tons and tons of birds, and it's just more about just the action than shooting trophy birds, you know?
Yeah. The biggest reason I go on those types of hunts is my dog. So, I mean, she'll pick up, she don't care what color they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dog just wants to fetch. I
Yep.
love it.
100%. So,
Well, Cam, tell us about yourself, man, what you do and who you are.
so I shoot shotguns professionally and I teach for a living now. I was in the military for 10 years, got out about 2 years ago. Just kind of started duck hunting a lot on accident, but I had planned to kind of transition into the shooting world full time. And and here we are. So that's summed up real quick. Hunting wise, I mean, I've been hunting my whole life. I started hunting when I was a young kid. And my first duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So I did a lot of diver hunting in Cadiz on what's the name of that lake? Lake Barkley in Kentucky Lake. They shoot down off of the Ohio, and that's kind of where I learned to duck hunt in the early years in the Army, and then PCS to here in North Carolina, and the duck hunting here is not not much to speak of. So when I got out, I just took off to Arkansas, and I spent I've done just about the whole season in Arkansas the last 2 years. So
Oh, good for you.
yeah, pretty much just move out there for the winter.
So how did you get into professional shotgun shooting and teaching? How there's a lot of people listen to this going, professional shotgun shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, that obviously means trap, skeet, sporting clays, things like that. But the teaching aspect of it is got to be rewarding as well. But how did you get into that?
So my dad was a very good shooter in the early 2000s. So my childhood was spent shooting a shotgun, hunting, and being around that environment. And so it just I shot, but never really had any interest in it, and then joined the Army and was gone for 18 years, and then just kind of picked it up. Sorry, I bounce around all over the place.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
Picked it up and started probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and started just shooting wide open, practicing all the time. I built my own sporting clays course, and I shot a whole bunch of shells in a short period of time so that I could be competitive and do it. So the timing of it all kind of lined up perfectly when I was getting good enough to do that. Was right around the time I got out of the Army, so I was able to just flow right into it. The instruction side of it, kind of unfortunate thing about being in the gun industry and the competitive shooting industry is it's not really a spectator sport, so the payouts aren't what they would be if it were golf or anything like that. So the majority of the people that do it for a living are teaching, right? So we're given instruction and we're given lessons and then competing to try to build that resume for that side of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard to describe what I do now, because it doesn't even seem real to me, but I enjoy it a lot. I'm having a lot of fun with it for sure.
I would assume there's a lot of travel involved with that.
Yes, sir. Yep. Last week I was in 6 states in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah. I shot in Minnesota. I shot in Wisconsin. I fished in Tennessee. I fished in Virginia. I taught in South Carolina, and I was at my house in North Carolina for 1 day.
Holy smokes, man.
It's a lot of travel. It's more traveling than when I was in the Army, for sure.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. So when you're traveling, do you tend to fly more than you drive?
It depends. I generally, to all the shoots in the northern part of the country, I try to fly up there. Those aren't my favorite places to go. I really like Minnesota and Wisconsin in the summer, but then obviously you're still dealing with the area that you're in. I mean, you travel to Chicago a couple times a year, travel to Minnesota. I like to just get in and get out of those places. All the shoots in the southern part of the country, like Texas and Louisiana, Georgia, where I'm driving to all those. So certain times of the year I'm flying a lot. Certain times I'm driving to them.
That's interesting. You say that. There's got to be some logistical challenges with flying as well, because you're not taking just one gun. You're probably taking several, and flying with ammunition as well has got to be a challenge. Because I'm sure that unless you have sponsors sending ammunition, unless you have federal sending ammunition to the location, there's got to be some challenges with that. And driving sometimes is just easier. You're just in more control. You have more control.
When I hunt, I definitely prefer to drive. Obviously I'm not flying all my duck hunting equipment, but when you're shooting, it's easy. It's too easy to ship ammo or maybe federal selling it up there. I mean, there's a pretty big presence at all the major shoots. So it's too easy to just hop on a plane with a gun. It's not that bad. I don't fly any ammo up there.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that. The few times that I've flown with guns recently in the last couple of years have been for different hunts on the Eastman side of things that we do, and it's been surprisingly simple.
Yeah, very easy.
I think a lot of people. Think about my dad, and he won't fly with a gun. He doesn't like to fly anyway, but he's like, I'm not flying with a gun. If I can't drive there, I'm not doing it. And I'm thinking, it's really not bad at all.
Yeah, it's not bad. International travel with the gun is a pain. That's not very fun. But flying over here, I fly Delta all the time. And this isn't a plug for Delta, but it's pretty easy. It's easy when you figure out a good airline and you know kind of how they run their process. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's been my experience. You know, I flew home from Texas, flew down to Texas on a hunt with Federal Premium last year I'm getting into the big game side of things because we do both, but this is obviously the Wingmen podcast. But I got blessed enough to try out and test the 7mm backcountry.
Nice.
For Federal. And we got to do a hunt down in Texas with that and flew everything down there. Well, then I got meat to bring home. And I'm going, okay, how do because I didn't want to ship it. And a bunch of people were like, oh, it's simple. It's easy. You know, just put it in one of those soft-sided Yeti coolers, bone it all out and put it in the Yeti soft-sided cooler and fly it home as like a carry-on. And the problem was I had more meat than would fit when it was frozen. And I tried to flip as flat as I could. And I couldn't get it home in that Yeti thing. So I literally drove before we went to the airport. I drove into a Home Depot and I bought duct tape, zip ties, and one of those green made totes. And I put and the meat was all frozen, you know, and this is December. It's not going to thaw by the time I get home flying from Texas to Wyoming via Montana. It's not going to thaw out. So I was like, well, we'll see. So I put my antlers, put everything in there. And of course I put it all in there and it was over the weight limit. And the gal's like, this was in El Paso. Thank goodness. And the gal's like, yeah, sir, that's way over the weight limit. You're gonna have to split this up. I'm thinking, okay, how do I split this up? And she said, well, you've got that soft-sided cooler. You could split it, you know, whatever. And I went, okay. And I'll just check them both. And I start pulling it out of there, and it had thawed just enough that there was a little bit of blood dripping out of the pack. Not much. She's looking at me. She's like, what do you got, a body in there? I was like, actually 3 of them.
Yeah.
A mule deer bucket, 2 javelina in here.
Yeah.
And she just laughed. You know, she was giving me a hard time and laughed. But it's definitely a learning curve for sure. But it ended up being no big deal. We zip tied it together, all back together, and duct taped it all shut, and everything got home in one piece. In fact, we just had some of that mule deer buck last night for supper. So nice. It was, it's just the travel side of things, whether it's big game or wing shooting. You know, we went to Canada a couple of falls ago, and it was during the whole COVID craze, and we got to the border and we were expecting just like a shakedown and hassle, and it was so simple. We literally showed them. They didn't even ask for our vaccination cards. They didn't ask for anything. They were like, you guys going hunting? Yep. Yes, sir. We are. Come on in. We'll get your paperwork signed. And we had all our forms dialed and ready to go, you know, so it was go in, pay the fee, pay the queen. And,
I was told as long as you don't have a DUI, you're okay.
Pretty much.
If you have a DUI, they won't let you in.
Yep. Pretty much.
What I was told.
Yeah. It can be, I mean, there's little hiccups and hangups, but for the most part, if you got a clean record, and you're there for, you know, one of the things that we've found out over the years going up there is when they ask you if you're there for work or for pleasure, always say for pleasure. Because if you say yes, if you say yep, here for work, it can be bad. I don't know what it is. Has to do with taking Canadian jobs or whatever it might be. But we just said, yep, we're here for work, going hunting. Or here for pleasure, going hunting, and it was a breeze, absolute breeze. But we crossed at a little podunk border crossing in northern Montana, and it was, it was so simple.
I'm flying to Montana tomorrow, and I'm shooting in Montana, and then I'm driving from Bozeman to Boise, for another competition. So, shooting season's almost over. I got 4 or 5 more weeks of doing that and traveling around, and then start to shift into the duck hunting stuff. And I don't really know. Arkansas is good. You guys hunt in Arkansas quite a bit.
No,
right?
I honestly never been to Arkansas.
Really?
No, most of the stuff we do is out west.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, Arkansas is to me, it's gotten worse and worse over the. I'm no expert on it or anything, but I've hunted a lot in the last few years, and it's just whether the people making the numbers for the ducks are getting paid, or whether they don't know what they're doing, or whatever. There's just not as many ducks. We're just not. You don't kill nearly the amount of ducks. A new wave of ducks comes in. You have 3 days to kill them. They sit in those refuges, and then you wait until the next push. So I'm going to try to break it up a little bit this year. Hunt Nebraska quite a bit. I do a bunch of public land hunting in Nebraska. I've got Kentucky and Tennessee figured out pretty well. So I enjoy the traveling side of it. Last year was just rice fields and flooded timber, and that's all I did for 50 days. And it got old.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Yeah, you need some variety in your shooting for sure. Keep things interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you're looking for some variety and something totally different, come on out and hunt with us.
Yeah. I got a buddy who hunts and does those Wyoming and Montana hunts and stuff like that. His name's Zach Keenbaum, and he it's all guided hunts, but they kill a lot of birds.
Yeah.
They kill a bunch of birds.
Yeah, I got a really good outfitter down the road from us. It's a friend of ours, and they do really, really well. And we do a lot of DIY stuff here, of course, and late, it's January, February, and it's a crapshoot with the weather, because we need it to be cold and nasty and snowy, but it can get too cold where everything freezes up. The birds don't leave because there's always a little open water around, but they get really hard to hunt. And like anywhere you're DIYing, you're trying to find when it's 20 below, you're trying to find a field to hunt instead of water. And there's a lot of competition. It's the thing about Montana and Wyoming, a lot of the western states, that we can have really good duck hunting in certain areas, but they're small. They're small areas. It's not like there's birds spread out all over the place like there are in the Midwest or in the South. It's just not that way at all. So it's interesting what you said about the Arkansas season's getting tougher, just fewer birds. I hear that a lot from guys that hunt that portion of the country. And I don't know. A lot of guys are blaming it on warm water, baited fields. I think the list goes on and on and on. It's quite a debate, but I think
it's a mix of all of the factors. I think just takes a toll on them over time. I mean, the one lease I'm in where I really hunt a lot, and it's family's been hunting it with those guys for years, and it's a 5 to a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10 in Arkansas, right? With the potential of being a 9 some days, and the potential of being a 2 some days. And we would have, and it goes in the same cycle every time. You have a real good day, and then you have an okay day, and then you might as well stay at home because you're not going to kill a duck. And then 2 or 3 days blanked, maybe you kill a few here and there, and then as the season goes on, those stretches just get longer and longer, and it's I just don't think there's as many ducks in Arkansas as there's, if they've said, and they used to be. But again, I'm not a biologist. I don't really know, but you've heard the Arkansas being a timber company. I don't know if but it's a lot of those factors play into it, and it's kind of sad. Because I don't have kids yet, but I'd like for them to be able to have hunts like we've had and whatnot, but it's just getting less and less. So
it's interesting. We had by far the worst year last year out here that I've experienced in 20 years, and we got deep cold for about a week and froze everything up, and there were ducks, but not the numbers that we normally have. And it was just weird. And then right towards the end of our late goose in February, we got blasted with a bunch of snow, and it pushed 95% of the honkers further down into southern Wyoming and into Colorado. And my guys in Colorado, same thing. They struggled. They just didn't have the birds that they usually do. And it's because it was really warm right up through, Christmas and even early January.
Yeah.
And Montana had open water, and the birds just didn't move. They didn't move at all. They just kind of stayed put on the Missouri and up on the Yellowstone, and they just sat there, and they didn't have any reason to come further down. And honestly, I think you see that too, where in that central flyway and the east side of the central flyway, the Mississippi Valley flyway, where you guys are funneling a lot of your birds. Same thing. I was in Iowa for Christmas last year, and there weren't any birds there. It rained every day. We had a little bit of snow when we first got there, and it all melted and it rained. So there was no reason, there's no push for those birds to go further south at all.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that's what probably, in my opinion anyway, I think that has more to do with it.
Yeah.
And in those northern states, they don't have the late season hunts like they do further south. So there's zero hunting pressure by the time late December and January roll around. If there's no weather to push those birds, there's no reason for them to leave, because there's no hunting pressure either.
Yeah.
It's just it's really different. At least when it comes to ducks. Geese are a little different, but
the farming practices, a farmer that we lease a field from, he was explaining the genetic differences in the new rice that they plant. And so it used to be all of the leftovers would sprout. They would sprout. I may be mistaken on this, but the new genetic stuff, there's one, their harvesting practices have gotten better, so there's almost none left over.
Right.
And then two, genetically it's so good, as soon as it hits the ground, it sprouts, and once it sprouts, they can't eat it. Or once it grows to a certain height or whatever. So I just, it's, I want to learn, I got to start learning how to hunt other places, because I'm not doing that Arkansas thing for 2 months again. It's just, so I think they should make the limit one a day for 10 years and see what happens.
Yeah. I think bird numbers are not as high too, as I think we're seeing the trickle down effect from 2 hard years of avian flu.
Yeah.
I don't think that people took that into consideration nearly as much as they should have. 2 years ago, we had dead geese in fields all over the place. No, Canada's. It was Canada's, but there was several places. It was not uncommon to go down to a spot, on a water spot, and there'd be dead ducks, floating downriver or floating, because everything's a river out here that time of year. It's the only open water left, and there was always dead birds or sick birds, and I really think that had a bigger impact than we realize.
We noticed a lot of those too. I don't let my dog pick up a snow goose. We were hunting in Nebraska 2 years ago at the beginning of the season, and you'd run across the middle of the lake wide open, and 3-4 o'clock in the morning to get to the other side, and you'd bust up thousands of snow geese that were out there roosting on the lake. But then you look, and there's hundreds of them not getting up, and then you come back through later in the day, and there's just dead snow geese floating all over the place. So we bumped into a biologist, and he explained that to us a little bit. That's scary. I don't know if they say it's transferred over into the ducks fully yet or not, but I know it pounded snow geese in Nebraska, and we saw it a lot in Arkansas as well.
Yeah, it apparently, from what I heard talking to biologists and, just kind of through the grapevine, that it didn't affect ducks as heavily. It was geese were much more susceptible to it. And that's what we saw. We don't see hardly any snow geese here. We get a few early in like late October, November, and then we don't see any more.
Yeah.
And so it's just Canada's, but it was very, very prevalent. Every field, like you're talking, you'd get a couple thousand geese feeding in a barley field or a cornfield, and the next morning you go out to scout it, and there'd be at least 4 or 5 dead birds or sick birds out there. Yeah. And you could tell they'd come into the decoys, and they'd just be like barely flying, they didn't look right.
Yeah.
And And we were told by our game wardens here, just, if you shoot one, you think it's sick, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
Give us a report. And I was finding them driving around town. We got irrigation ditches that go through town, and there were dead geese in the irrigation ditch. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know what it is. I'm hoping this year, looking at the Delta waterfowl report for the prairie pothole region, duck numbers are good. There's some species that are still struggling, but duck numbers overall are good. That eastern seaboard, though, holy smokes, it just continues to just get pounded.
Yeah.
And what are you guys down to for a mallard limit out there? Like 1 or 2 birds?
Yeah, I believe it's 2. I think it was 2 last year. I really don't. I do all I didn't hunt in North Carolina one time last year. I'm good friends with the guy that owns the biggest duck, probably one of the biggest duck farms in the country. It's M&M Hunting Plantation or Hunting Preserve in New Jersey, and they raise a lot of ducks up there. They have a ton of birds up there in New Jersey. That coastal hunting that they do, but I don't know anything about that. I like to be in the woods. I like hunting in the woods. I don't like big water. I don't like waves.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. No, I understand that. That's, oh man.
Yeah.
So for ducks, let's talk federal premium ammo a little bit. What's your go-to load?
Black clouds. Yeah, I shoot 1 ounce and an 8, 2 3/4 inch black cloud BBs.
Oh, BBs.
Yeah, I shoot BBs through an IC choke in a Beretta, either Beretta 390 or Beretta A400. And that's a pretty good combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. I shoot for a company called Pure Gold shotgun chokes, and having a lot of conversations with Bill Davis, the guy who runs it, and him explaining to me how chokes work and us playing with some stuff. I think the best combination for steel shot that I have found is a BB and a 10. I'll shoot 4s at teal and stuff like that sometimes, but I shot some stacked loads this year. But I think the black cloud BBs are great. I like them. They're great. And I shoot a lot of the just regular old federal blue box.
Yeah, that's a go-to, man.
Yeah,
that's
hammer
awesome.
Yeah,
and you can find it anywhere.
Yeah,
they've got the value packs going, and oh my goodness, it's hard for us to find 2 3/4 inch out here.
Yeah,
everything's 3.
Yeah,
and I guess if I had to pick one, I'd go with the 2s.
Yeah,
but I'm with you on constriction. On geese, I'll shoot the modified choke, and but on ducks, 90% of the time there's an IC choke in my gun.
Yeah.
I steel just patterns so well with less choke.
Yeah. It's at a good year. I shot a little bit of TSS. I've got buddies who are into that 28 gauge TSS, that poetic stuff that they do. I don't like that. I want to kill the bird for my dog to go get. I don't really care about killing with 28 gauges or anything. Maybe I'll get bored in a couple years and start doing that, but I like to throw as many pellets at them as I can. So
it's funny you say that. I had both of my daughters in Wyoming. There's no minimum age for small game hunting, so if they can shoot a gun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, big game's 12, but anyway, they both killed turkeys. Of course, with 410, 3-inch 9s, and a couple of years ago, I thought, there's no reason they can't shoot those same loads for ducks and geese, those 3-inch 9s out of the 410.
Oh yeah.
And they're not proficient enough yet to shoot on the wing, but if you land them, it's like, all right,
oh yeah,
shoot them in the head just like a turkey.
Oh
and
yeah,
dude, it's perfect. It's a great little load. You get geese, got that big long neck to shoot at, and on a duck you just center them up and send it.
Yeah,
and it works. I love the TSS for that stuff. But I do shoot it on once in a while, especially if I'm going someplace I haven't been before and I don't know what my shooting's going to be.
Yeah.
I'll take the TSS because that way I'm like, if they're 10 yards fluttering in the decoys, okay, it might be overkill, but dead's dead,
Yeah.
But you get so many of those places where, like, I remember last October, our first split out here, buddy called me. He's like, "Hey, we're hunting in the morning. You want to go?" I said, "Sure." I said, "What are we hunting?" He's like, "Oh, it's a big pond." I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I threw a couple boxes of TSS in the bag and a couple boxes of the new heavy bismuth. And it was a 3-inch 3. He said, "There's a pile of geese and a few ducks." And boy, he wasn't kidding. It was a big pond and the shooting was long. Those birds did not want to decoy in to the edge. They wanted to be out in the middle. And so the shooting was, 30 yards was a close shot.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have that extra reach, reach out and smack them, and bring them down dead. That's the biggest thing that I think I love about the TSS loads is it just brings down birds dead. You don't have cripples, where we are out here hunting these fast rivers, your birds have got to be dead, and so much so that if they hit the water, if they go down with that head up and they're looking around and they hit the water and pop up and their head's up, you shoot them until they're dead. Because you just can't, they get away from you. It's not like a pond or flooded timber where you can go chase a cripple.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's interesting. 2 3/4 inch. What's your thinking on that? What's your philosophy on that?
Well, I get a lot of, I've run that camera on the end of my barrel and I have a lot of those videos and 3 inches, them shells kick. They kick. Yeah. I don't like recoil. Recoil's cumulative. I shoot 50,000 shotgun shells a year. Right. It's not that good for your brain over the long term shooting that much. So I don't really care to be kicked all the time. And that's really all I need. I'm definitely fortunate. All the people that taught me how to duck hunt are the old school guys. It was like, let the decoys land.
Yeah.
We're hunting with, a lot of times I've killed a lot of ducks over like styrofoam, old styrofoam decoys and stuff like that. Like old school guys,
Right.
and they want the ducks to land and see if the decoys work, and that's fine. I don't need to prove to anybody that I can hit a duck flying, but it is pretty cool hunting in the woods when you can get 20 or 30 to set down in there. Yeah. It's cool for the dogs. That's the type of hunting we're generally doing.
That makes perfect. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think there's a lot to be said in today's day and age where waterfowl hunting is extremely popular.
Yeah.
I see guys, and no offense, but, and not necessarily at you, but this younger guys listen to this, see a lot of young guys taking some really questionable shots.
Yeah.
They're so hungry to shoot a limit, which I get it. I was there. And now I'm at the point where if they're not feet down, scratching, backpedaling into the decoys, I usually don't call the shot, and we'll have 3-4 dudes in the blind, and it just, your shooting percentages go way up when you treat it like, when you sit back and let birds work, and shooting singles or pairs. A lot of times, like if we get a big group, 15, 20 birds that does it, I don't even shoot them. I'm just like, no, just enjoy the show, fellas. Let these ones go. We'll get our birds, but let's shoot singles and pairs.
Yeah.
Or small groups where you can mop them all up,
Yeah.
It's just, there's something to be said about that. I always used to flush birds off the water when they landed back in the day. I had a guy hunt with me one time and he's like, "Why are you flushing those birds?" And I didn't really have a good answer, and he's like, "You did the hard part. You fooled them. You tricked them."
That's the hardest part of hunting.
Yeah. Because that's a duck's fault if you shoot them sitting there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the hardest part, is to get birds to actually decoy and land. And
to me, that's the hunting part. The shooting part is different. I'll get bored and shoot some pretty far out there sometimes, or I'll haul off and empty my gun on the dragonfly or something, right? Like when I get bored. But the duck hunting part of it is I want to see the birds land. I'm not very good at blowing a duck call. I'm getting better, but the guys I hunt with are. So to watch them to watch my dog's reactions to what they're doing. My dog's watching the birds work. You're looking up, you're standing in the woods and you're looking up and you're just like, there's no way a duck can come down through these trees. It's just not possible. This is stupid. Why are we standing here? My feet are cold and my waders are leaking. And, but when you get 15 or 20 and they're bouncing off of trees on the way down and they're just fluttering down, like my second, third, fourth, fifth thought is not picking up my gun. Yeah, I don't care anything about picking up my gun. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then everybody else shoots, and then I'll shoot whichever ones are getting out. But I like shooting wood ducks.
Man, I miss that so much. Growing up in Michigan, that was our bread and butter early in the year, and we just don't have it out here. They're gone by the time we don't have a lot of them anyway, and the ones we do have are gone by the time season opens. Yeah. But
where we're at in Arkansas, you can normally the mallards don't start flying until like 9:30, 10, something like that most of the time. But if you get out there right when the sun comes up and you're out, 7 o'clock and you're standing out on the dog ramp or outside the blind and you got your gun in your hands and you're paying attention, you can mash some wood ducks if you can shoot.
Yeah, I love them. Yeah. They're so much fun. They come ripping into the decoys. They're just kamikazes.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, there's not a better eating duck out there.
Yeah.
I think they're just the best.
Yeah.
Oh, that takes me back, dude.
Yeah.
And old beaver ponds back in the UP where they were just loaded, and there wasn't a mallard on it. There might be a black duck or two in with them, but there'd be 500 woodies in there. And back in those days, you could only shoot 2, and so you're trying real hard to shoot drakes and you'd be done quick.
Oh yeah.
It'd be done quick.
That's how I kind of grew up hunting with my cousin in North Carolina when he would take me, was trudging down through a swamp. He's got an Argo. You ever seen those Argos?
Oh yeah.
6-wheeler things. So load that thing up and float it out in the middle of the swamp to kill 2 wood ducks, and that gets old after a while. But a Boykin, I hunt with a Boykin Spaniel, and a Boykin Spaniel and a wood duck in a swamp is a cool combination.
That's pretty special.
Yeah, really cool combination. So
how'd you get into Boykins? That's you see more and more of those all the time. I've always been fascinated with them. I think they're a cool little dog, but how'd you get into those? It's not that's not a dog that's popular,
Yeah, you probably hear her snoring. She's laying next to me on the couch. But she, I had a golden retriever. She wasn't a bird dog. She was just a friend, and we had labs growing up. And then when my golden died, I waited a little bit, and then a friend of mine had a Boykin, and she was showing her to me, and I was like, what is a Boykin? I have no idea what a Boykin is. And it's like, that's a stupid name. And so I did a little bit of research on them, about 30 minutes worth of research, and I was like, that's a pretty cool dog. I'll turn it into a flushing dog, because I do a little bit of upland stuff. So drove out there, got it. 8 weeks old, started training her first day, playing fetch, and then just at 4 months old, I had she was collar conditioned. At 6 months old, she was done with T-pattern. At 9 months old, I force fetched her. So I kind of learned as I was going along the way. I followed a bunch of Freddie King's retriever trainer stuff. Some of that doesn't work very well with the Boykin, but some of it works really well. Lone Duck was another one. I just started watching videos and learning, and she's 3 years old. She just turned 3 years old. She has 107 days of duck hunting.
That's awesome.
At 3 years old. Yeah, she's bad to the bone. I mean, flooded timber. She's 33 pounds. She's picked up Canadian geese, snow geese, all the ducks, pretty much all the ducks. A Canadian goose is a lot for her, but she'll get it back. She's not going to stop. She'll get it back.
Right. Yeah, it's that old saying, it's not about the size of the size of the dog in the fight. It's the fight in the dog. That's so true. It's so true.
They've got a little bit of one of my students in South Carolina is actually. Her name is May Boykin. So her granddad or great granddad or whatever is the one who started that breed, and they have a little bit of Chesapeake in them.
Okay.
And you can tell that comes out, just that hard-headed, like retrieve through a brick wall. She's gonna do her own thing. So training them is a lot different. I mean, they're very, very strong-willed. They have a big personality.
You know what, though? I'd rather have a dog that I got to pull the reins in on than one I got to kick to do its job.
Yep.
You know, I'd much rather have a fiery dog that's a little hard to handle, you know. And guys ask me that quite often. You know, the conditions that we hunt out here, it's not the end of the world if you have a dog that breaks out here, because just the current in the rivers, everything happens so fast that it's not terrible. You know, I got the dog I'm running now is 4 years old, and he's pretty steady, especially if I'm not shooting. He's very steady if I'm not shooting. My old dog Mackinac was, if you click the safety off, dude, I've
watched videos of
fair catching, and he was a machine, dude. I mean, some of the stuff that he could do, he was amazing, and he was smart. But he was
the dog you put that video up of? It was retrieving one up that cliff.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's him. He was 12. We put him down this winter. He got to be 12, and he was fine in November, and I was hoping I'd get another season out of him, and he got congestive heart failure, and he went downhill fast. And it is what it is. You know, I got a new pup that we're working with right now, and excited to see where we're going with that. I've only had him for 3 weeks, and so we're just barely, you know, fetch in the hallway and get him out in the yard, and there's a lot of distraction. He'll fetch a little bit in the yard, but he's kind of like looking around. And, you know, but we'll get there. No, and you talk about dog training, and the resources that you used, man, there is just a wealth of resources available at people's fingertips these days. Back when I first started, there was the old Walters books, and that was pretty much it. And I got a comment from a friend on social media. I posted a pic the other day working with Hondo, and I'm really leaning into the send, you know, and it's like, what the heck kind of send is that? You know, looks like something out of the 1960s. And I'm like, well, that's how I learned to train a dog, you know. And it was a big go, so I wanted him to be excited and really go and take a line, and he did it. But I still, those old habits, some of that stuff's hard to break.
I used to catch myself doing the same thing, you know, sending her, waving my hand, and my buddy's like, what are you doing that for? Like, you want the dog to go in a straight line for 200 yards, and you're waving your hand around in front of his face like you look dumb. Is what he told me. But you know, I learned a lot. I got a lot of friends that are good at it. Where I hunt, she's got to be perfect. I mean, there's no other dogs that hunt in the club that I'm in. We're hunting in heavy current, and there's no banks, and the outside of the river, the channel is just cypress knees, and the water just goes and goes. There's no dry ground, and you can get into some nasty situations hunting with a dog in that current. And she has been in some nasty stuff, but hunted with her a little bit. I think she was 6 or 7 months old the first time I took her to Arkansas.
Cool.
And, you know, kept her in the blind, kept her warm. She's in my jacket, but I'm letting her watch. You know, I take her out and let her jump off the front of the boat and go get a bird in the decoys and whatever. But she no blinds, you know, nothing like that in the current. And then last year, I took the reins off. I mean, we built dog ramps on all of our stuff. But you know, I hunted her in multiple days. I mean, this is a 35-pound dog with a single coat, and I hunted her sub 10-degree weather multiple days. It's just, you know your dog, and that's people ask me that a lot about Boykins, like, how do you keep them warm? You got to know the dog. You got to know what the dog can do. I've pushed this dog to the brink of just falling over as an ice brick over here at my pond in the wintertime. So I know what the dog is, you know, when is too much, and you get her warm, and she gets in there next to the fire, and she'll curl up in a ball like a little badger or something for a minute, and then she'll just wake up and stretch, and she'll walk right back out on the porch. She won't even look at you when she goes by you. She'll just walk right back out on the porch. And and sit there and wait for more ducks. So
Ready for more.
It's cool. It's pretty neat to watch. To me, a Boykin is the coolest dog there is. I mean, it's just unbelievable that this dog will run in a straight line until she hears a whistle or she dies.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yep, that is impressive. Cool. It's, you made a great point about knowing your dog, because I don't care. Guys get all wrapped up in, well, I need a great big male lab to do the type of hunting that I do. And he's got to be, I need that double coat because he's going to be more cold resistant. There's a lot of Labradors that aren't as cold resistant as you think they would be, and I haven't had that problem with mine. The old dog you were referring to, Mackinac, he got hypothermic on me one time when he was younger, and that taught me a pretty valuable lesson. Yeah. But otherwise, it's kind of the dog I'm running now, Hondo, he would retrieve through anything, and that's great, but he doesn't know enough to stop or, show me that he's cold. He never gets cold. And it's kind of like, all right, I have to pay really close attention to him. And it's just knowing your dog, and being smart about it. You talk about a dog that will get itself in trouble. Yeah. Mackinac did that to me one time. We were hunting lower in the river system, and it was a lot of down trees and log jams, and river was a single channel right there, and it was really fast. Yeah. And I told the guys I was with, I said, you guys have got to drop birds on land. You got to drop them on the shore. Excuse me. You got to drop them on the bank behind the blind. Yeah. I said, if they fall in this rip, I said, if they're right in the decoys, okay. But even 5 yards outside, there was a current seam, and they were just ripping downstream. Yeah. And there was one that was really close. I thought, oh, he's got it. And he went across, and he could not come back. And he was smart, and he swam all the way across the river, eddied out on the other bank. And I called him. I went way up above the blind. There was some shallow water. And I got him all the way up there across from me, and had the guys downstream, and was enough where he could touch about 3/4 the way across. And then he hit that fast rip, and it sucked him down, and they grabbed him as he went by. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about, guys. We can't. These birds, you got to call shots over land.
You can lose a dog easy. I mean,
Yes.
And you don't really realize it until you start pushing the envelope and you get comfortable. And I had a similar thing happen with her this year. It was probably like mid to late January, I think, maybe mid-January in Arkansas. And we're hunting an afternoon hunts, just me, and I'm hunting out of my boat blind. And to my front was kind of a slough right there, right? Calm water. I'd thrown out a dozen decoys, and then behind me was the main river channel. And mallard came in, flew right over my head, just like a driven bird, right? No problem. Dumped him, and he landed in the main channel behind me. Well, my dog saw him, so I sent her. And she gets out there in that current, and this is when the river had just unthawed. So there's cold water, it's real cold water, lots of big chunks of ice, but it was manageable. I mean, she had some retrieves in it. I just didn't really realize how fast that current was going right there. And she takes off after that duck, and she gets about 10 yards from the back of him, and the duck triples in speed, and then she triples in speed. She hits that main channel. And I'm just like, oh no, I've got tears in my eyes. I'm freaking out. I was like,
I've been there.
I just lost my dog. So my boat was pulled up on dry ground, kind of a knoll right there. It was going to be hard. I wouldn't have been able to get my blind down and my boat off of that in time to get to her. So I just started handling her. So I'd whistle and give her a leftover, right? Whistle, leftover, and I just kind of. She zigzagged her way to the far end of the channel and kind of got out of that current and got the duck. She's 120 yards away from me down river at this point. And same thing, she worked her way back up, and I'd handle her and give her a ride over, and she just kind of walked the stairs back across. And by the time she was swimming for 5.5 minutes.
Wow.
And and it was cold, and she took that duck, she walked straight to me, she handed it to me, she hopped right in the boat, got in front of the buddy heater, and just stayed perfectly still and just gave me the worst look
Yeah, I bet. I
that
can't
you could
believe you did
imagine
that to
from a
me,
dog.
Dad.
But
Oh
it was,
man.
I mean, I was like, okay, you got to pay attention, because you get excited, you kill a
Yeah.
bird, it
Yep.
gets a little bit of chaos, right? You're
Mhm.
rushing, and a duck's not worth the
No.
1,500 hours I've got in this dog.
Yeah. Plus all the emotional connection. You know, if I come
Yeah,
home,
100%.
if I come home from a hunt,
Yeah,
my kids are going to be like, "Dad, where's the dog?" Well,
exactly.
try
Yeah,
explaining that to 3 little kids, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like it's just got to the point where it goes back to what we were talking about how you're shooting your birds to, you
Yeah.
know, where if they're not right in the decoys, you know,
Yeah.
all the spots that I set are easy spots for a dog to retrieve. Yeah, there's
Yep.
current involved, but most of it, a bigger dog like Hondo can run through the water the whole way.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have to swim, and if he does, it's just a little bit.
Yeah.
As long as we're shooting those birds, you know, in the hole, and
Yeah.
you set your holes up that way, and you be picky with your shots, and things go pretty smooth. But
Yeah.
stuff happens. You know, kudos to you for having that much handle on your dog that you can
Yeah.
work her through a situation like that, because most guys don't. Most guys' dogs would just be on their own once they got
Yeah.
out there, and
Yeah.
it'd be a nightmare.
I worked most of the training stuff that I saw and that I followed was 75% marking, 25% blinds and
Mhm.
handling. I kind of did it opposite. I probably did 80 to 90% handling and the rest of it marking, because I mean, she can mark. Any dog can mark. I mean, you play fetch with the dog enough, they can mark. They figure that out on their own after a while. But the blind stuff and the bit, because you got to build a lot of confidence in a boykin. Boykin's got to have a ton of confidence to go. I mean, they'll quit on you, not quit on you, but you know, early on when she was young, she just get confused and give up.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
Like, I mean, she's, you know, she's not quitting and saying no, like you would normally associate that with a dog. She's just like, dude, I don't know what you want me to do, and I'm tired of running around in circles. So
Right.
to work through that, to build the confidence, to, you know, you got to be able to give the dog a hard right or a hard left, and they go for 100 yards before they look back at you. So that's kind of the stuff I worked on with her. A lot of, you know, the first season was a lot of lessons. You're not going to really fix anything during duck season either. You're hunting every day, or
if anything,
you know,
it gets worse.
Yes.
During hunt, you got a lot of bad habits to break
Yeah.
by the end of hunting season. You know,
Yeah.
and it's just the way it is. You know, it's just kind of the way it goes, and
it's so much fun.
It's a ball. Yeah, it's a riot. It's why we do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm doing, training dogs and running around and getting ready for hunting season, and it's like there's not enough time in the day between the 9 to 5, and then you get home and you got a family to wrangle, and then you got trained dogs, and it's like, plus you want to do some fishing, you want to do some, it's like, it's first world problems, right?
Yeah. It's she flies on planes with me. She goes all over the country. She's flying to Montana and doing this road trip with me. She was in Kansas with me a couple weeks ago. So yeah, just a little briefcase retriever, little backpack retriever.
I love it. So. Yeah, it's funny. You get dog guys, if you really want to get them to talk, all you got to do is start talking about their dog. And the next thing you know, it's 2 hours later and you've been just talk dogs the whole time. You know? It's a great bond for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the competitive stuff.
Okay.
We talked about the travel. We talked about that. I guess let's start with if there's somebody listening to this that goes, man, I'd really like to get into that, do more of that.
Yeah.
And do that. What's your advice? How does somebody get into it?
Sporting clays is cool. You know, you have the trap and the skeet side of the game, right? The clay targets, that's a little bit different. I grew up in the sporting clay side. That's what I enjoy. I think it's a better test of how good someone is at shooting. I mean,
think so. Yeah.
In the big, you know, in these bigger competitions, we're shooting everything in 30 yards to 75 yards to 80 yards. I mean, you're pushing the limits of a shotgun and the capabilities and whatnot. But the cool thing about sporting is there's everybody's on the same course. Everybody, you could show up to your first registered tournament that you've ever shot. You sign up and you might end up in a squad with me or guys that are a lot better than me, right? Like everybody's all on the same course. Yeah, it's not as hard as people think to get into it. It's just kind of one of those niche things, and there's not a lot of TV coverage on it. I don't think our industry does as good of a job as they can, but it's also hard with guns. I mean, anytime I post something with a picture of a gun on it on social media, I get flagged and all that stuff. So it's always got that working against it, but it's just you're shooting souped up BB guns at clay pottery to simulate bird hunting. I mean, it's I think the funnest sport there is. And then when you get into the really trying to compete with it, I think it's the hardest sport that there is. I think it's one of the most mentally challenging forms of competition that I've ever done.
It's interesting you say that, and I'm rereading some of my old favorite books.
Yeah.
Gene Hill is a guy that I read all of his stuff when I was a kid growing up, and I'm rereading a lot of that stuff. And he was talking about a lunch interview he did with Rudy Etchen, and Rudy was old school. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But Rudy was him back in the day in the shooting world, and he told Gene Hill, he's like, yeah, the best shooters they don't lose.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, what? He goes, no, you'll never beat the best shooters. He's like, okay, like, what do you mean? And obviously I'm paraphrasing this story. This was a very polished, well-written story. And he said, it's the best shooters only lose to themselves.
Yeah.
Because of the mental focus and the just being dialed to 1,000 all the time. And if it slips, that's when you miss.
Yeah. And the sport, I mean, since the early 2000s, like the sport has evolved in every way. I mean, the guns have gotten better, the ammo's gotten better, the machines have gotten better that they throw the targets off of, so you can tilt them and you can throw just about anything you can imagine. The target setters have gotten better. They know how to set a course to where the high score is a 95, or maybe it's a 98 that day, or maybe it's a 92 that day, or whatever it is. Like they for the most part, they have that figured out pretty well. So the sport's gotten harder in that aspect, but it's also gotten harder in the terms of all the guys who were winning back then when they were young. They're still around and they're better. Right. So like I don't know if you're familiar with our industry, but the Corey Cruz, the Zach Keenbaum, the Anthony Matarese, those guys are still really freaking good, and they've been here the whole time. So it's gotten harder in that aspect. I mean, there's tons of kids that can do it and win on any given day, but you put the best junior shooter in the world, right? Like Connor Daniel, right? You put somebody like him, like the baddest, one of the baddest junior shooters on the planet, and you put him up against Zach Keenbaum or Anthony Matarese, right? Well, the Zach and Anthony, they might, Zach's getting old, and those guys are getting old, and they've been around for a long time, but they have some type of emotional connection to every single station on pretty much every big sporting clays course in the country, right? So like you just look at nationals at the National Sporting Complex in San Antonio. Those guys have like won national championships and lost national championships and watched their friends win events and watched their friends lose events on almost every single station on that entire facility, right? So like they have missed almost every type of target that you can throw on every station over the last 25, 30 years that they've shot nationals. And that's really, really hard to compete with. That is extremely hard to compete with. So, I think a lot of people kind of maybe overlook that, but I'm fortunate enough to be friends with a lot of those guys, and you can just tell. I mean, you can tell, like you shooting with Corey, and he won the 2010 US Open on this station, or won the 2019 World English on this station, or whatever. So it's I kind of got to the show a little bit late. I'm kind of in the middle ground. You see a lot of young kids, pre-college, maybe in college, young kids with the their parents, their parents are still paying it. And then you see the 35-year-old guys, the 40-year-old guys that have been around the whole time. So there's not many guys my age in the middle that are kind of doing it wide open all the time and footing the bill themselves. So there's just so many different dynamics of the sport, if that makes sense.
No, it does. 100%. I'm headed over the mountain to Weatherby here tomorrow morning, actually, and we're going to be shooting some sporting clays and some new rifles stuff.
Nice.
Just having a good time with our friends over there, and interesting to see. They've always got something new. They'll trot it out, something they're working on. You get to play with that. But the sporting clay stuff it's like you go to a trap field or a skeet field, and it's the same angles. It's the same birds, depending on
memorized angles.
Yeah, depending on what and memory. Yeah, exactly. Depending on what the wind's doing that day, or it might be a little different. But it seems like every time you go to a sporting clays course, it's just a kick in the pants. It's a ton of fun, and you get humbled.
Yeah,
there's always a station for me that, and I can't even tell you which one it would be, but there's one on every course where it's like, dude. I think I got it, and I'm missing birds, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. I generally like to teach. My kind of niche is like, I enjoy teaching people. Yes, I can teach people like how to shoot for the first time, but I enjoy teaching like, D-class shooters, guys that are just kind of starting out, just getting into it. I enjoy teaching them because you can tell them one thing and pick them up 15 birds, right? Like out of a round of 100. Okay. And I just enjoy that. I like that. And it's, a good mentor of mine has told me, you learn how to shoot, then you learn how to compete, and then you go back to learning how to shoot, then you start to learn how to compete again. And then one day you just kind of accidentally win. And then you go back to learning how to shoot some more, and it's just a cycle. And I think it takes 8 to 10 years. Really. I mean, I've shot 65,000 targets in competition in the last 6 years, and I learn something new every time I shoot. Every time I go to a big tournament, I see a target and I'm looking at it. I'm like, what is that? I have no idea what that thing is doing. And it's always going to be that way. So it's a cool game. I mean, there's sporting clays all over the country, and most people don't know. I mean, around any major city in the whole country, like in North Carolina, there's 4 or 5 clubs around Raleigh. There's a bunch of clubs around Atlanta. There's clubs all throughout Florida. There's all the major cities in Texas have big sporting clays courses around them. There's clubs in San Antonio, Houston, Dallas. There's one of the biggest clubs, and one of my favorite clubs in the country is right outside of Chicago. Minnesota's loaded with clubs. Wisconsin's loaded with clubs. So it's the sport has grown. It's grown. It's grown. It's an expensive sport. It's a very expensive sport. When my dad was doing it, he used to throw a fit, getting mad when shells were $4 a box. I mean, I remember going to Walmart with him, and he's got like little coupons and stuff, and he's buying old Winchester AA's or Fiocchi's or whatever they were selling in the store at the time for $2.50 a box with some kind of mail-in rebate. This was in the early 2000s. Now, 10 and up, so it's,
exactly.
It's gone up with everything else. In this sport, you have to pay for what you're shooting at and the ammo to do it. Versus pistol and rifle, you're just paying for paper targets. They're a lot cheaper. So, but it's a cool game. Yeah, it's a really cool game, and I'm fortunate. This is a hard game to kind of just stumble into and find it on accident. So I'm very grateful for the background that I had that kind of led me into it. But I just kind of randomly started shooting one day. I didn't have any interest in it when my dad was doing it as a kid, and I just, when he died, I had a lot of ammo, and I just kind of started ripping and started shooting. Shot 100,000 shells in the first year that I was doing it.
That's just a lot of shooting.
Trying to figure out how to do it.
A lot of shooting.
Yeah. So
I don't think people really realize that. They say, you'll hear guys throw out numbers like, "Oh, I got 10,000 rounds through this gun," or "I got whatever," and that's nothing for a pro, but for your average guy, that's a lot of shooting.
Yeah.
That is a lot of shooting. I think back when I was younger, and I'm old enough to remember when sporting clays was new. It was the new thing, and it wasn't a course everywhere. And so we shot a lot of skeet. I always enjoyed shooting skeet more than trap. Trap was repetitive and boring to me, and for where I grew up, we did a ton of upland hunting, and I felt like skeet was a better imitation. With all the different angles and different things. I felt like it prepared me better for hunting season.
Yeah.
And but man, I remember back shooting the first year I shot, league, and it was like same thing. I'm shocked with the amount of money that I'm spending on ammunition, and I was working at a sporting goods store and getting it with a discount, and it was still expensive. And I'm just like, holy smokes! But there's another level to it where you're at, and it's like, dude, it's those numbers you're throwing around are almost unfathomable for most people.
And I'm not even, I'm pretty good. I'm having a very good year, but I mean, there's guys, again, those guys that have been doing it for a long time, like they are hard to beat. They are hard to beat. I mean, yes, I was shooting the super sporting event at the last regional in Wisconsin with Corey Cruz, who's one of the best shooters to ever walk there. I mean, he's won Texas State, which has 1,000 shooters, and he's won it 9 times.
Jeez.
I mean, nationals, world championship. I mean, there's nothing left for those guys to win. And I'm shooting with him, and he's sick, right? He's puking. He doesn't feel good. He caught something, and he's sitting down, kind of looking at the targets. He gets in the box, throws the shells in his gun, closes it, shoots a 97, and beats me by 2. And I'm having a really good round, and I'm trying hard, and I shot 95 and felt pretty good about it. And my buddy just puked on himself in the Porter John, and he shoots a freaking 97. It's just they've just been doing it for so long. Yeah. There's nothing that they haven't seen.
It's funny you say that. Probably we all hold our fathers in high esteem.
Yeah.
And still to this day, my dad is probably one of the best game shots that I've ever seen. If it's got feathers on it, it usually doesn't get away. And he, he's at the point where he's slow. He kind of walks hunched over a little bit. He doesn't turn his head very well anymore. And you get him on a sporting clays course, and he struggles. If you put feathers on it out in the field, he's coming home with a full game bag every single day. And it's like that's such an amazing thing to see how that. It's a perishable skill, but it's also a cumulative skill. Like the more you do it and pay attention to it and practice it and work on it, the better you get. It's just wild.
There's also there's a big mental side to that too. I mean, my cousin who kind of taught me how to duck hunt, it's older guy. He's been hunting forever, and he shoots a Mossberg or something. He bought a brand new Super Black Eagle, Benelli Super. He can't shoot it. He's like, I got to get this rib off this thing. He's never shot a shotgun with a rib. Just a smooth barrel with a bead on the end of it. And here I am. I'm shooting $15,000, $20,000 shotguns in competition, like everything about it, right? Like, and he's shooting a pump with no rib, and mashing ducks, hammering ducks, hitting ducks harder than I could ever hope to. And I take him over to my range and throw him some clay targets, and he won't hit one. And it's like, well, why is that? And there's a big aspect of shooting a live bird to kill it. Versus shooting an orange flying target to break it, right? And if you don't have the drive to compete in that game, I mean, it just looks like an orange clay target flying through the air for you, right? And a lot of people that you teach and a lot of people that compete, that's a hard concept to kind of try to explain to somebody sometimes, but there's a good portion of it that they're looking at that target in a way that's like, I just got to crack it in half. I just got to break the target, right? And so it's a game that involves breaking a target. Well, the best shooters, to include the best shooter right now in our game, his drive to kill the bird is higher than everybody else's, right? Like in his mind, like it is life or death. It is a kill or be killed response in your brain mentally, and it does not matter what it takes. He's got to kill that target, right? So there's a lot of that when you're trying to teach wing shooters, duck hunters, and people that have learned how to shoot a shotgun on live birds. There's that aspect to it with a clay target. You got to teach people how to want to kill the target.
Right.
Is one of the biggest things. If that kind of makes sense. I don't know.
No,
if that
it
makes sense
does.
to you,
It
but,
does. It goes back to that mental focus that
mhm.
we were talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's shooting sporting clays or live birds, or if it's you're on a golf course, or if it's in business, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be, that you see the highest performing individuals of any given niche, and they're all that way. They're
Yeah.
all super driven and
Yeah.
super focused.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, it must be nice to be like, no, that's not what it's about. It's about dedication, mental focus, and hard
Yep.
work, and drilling down in whatever discipline it might be.
Yeah.
Those guys are on another level. The best of the best are on another level. And
Yeah.
like I said, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
If it's sports, if it's business, I don't care what it is. They're
Yep.
all on another level mentally.
Yeah.
And they're driven.
Yeah.
Just different. Just
Yeah.
different. And I was talking about going over to Weatherby, Adam Weatherby, the president and owner of Weatherby. Great dude, shot competitively for years and years in California, and he cannot turn it off. He's got a big shooting complex where he lives, and when you shoot with Adam, you better bring your A game, because he is competitive.
That's cool.
And he'll rib you and tease you. And we're shooting elimination last time I was over there, and it got to the point where everybody was a good shooter.
Yeah.
And you're not eliminating missed birds at a certain point. You're eliminating guys by shooting broken pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just having fun. And he eliminated me on, it was a speck, dude. I don't even know how he saw it, and he got it. There's and I was looked at him. He just can't turn it off.
Yeah.
And he's a high achieving individual.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It's just crazy how that goes. But so I'm getting my girls into shooting, like I said earlier, and we're getting to the point, my 10-year-old, she's big enough, strong enough now where she can actually hold the shotgun up.
Yeah.
And I wasn't too worried about it. It was like, we'll shoot some stationary stuff, shoot some turkeys and some things like that. But you're going to get to the point where she's big enough where she can actually handle the gun.
Yeah.
And give me some advice, man. We're starting into it. I've started with just a target sitting on the ground. She's pounding it. But give me some advice. Where should I go from here?
So, I mean, my dad my dad was taught by Dan Carlisle. Dan Carlisle was one of the kind of OGs in sporting plays. Yeah.
I know that name.
Oh, yeah. I spent a lot of time with Dan in my childhood, and he was, my dad kind of did the same thing that Dan said that his dad did with him, which was, first thing is a water bottle, hanging from a string. Excuse me. With a BB gun. Got to hit it 100 times from, I think it was maybe 10, 15 yards away. You just sit there and 100 times in a row, and then you miss, and you got to totally restart, right? So it took me thousands and thousands and thousands of times to do that, because that's hard. That's a hard thing to do.
It is.
And I think what that kind of build over time is that understanding of, like, you have to shoot a lot. This is going to take a bunch of times. Just keep shooting, and it kind of drives in for a kid that level of focus, right? One, the level of focus that you should really try to have all the time when you're handling a firearm, right? When you're doing something that involves a gun. But and so then after that, it graduated into, now the water bottle gets thrown up in the air and you got to hit it 100 times in a row. It was actually a coffee can that he used, right? So he'd chuck it up in the air, clink, do it again, clink, 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 100 times. That took thousands and more times. I mean, I was going through 5-gallon buckets of BBs, and so then finally got that, and then my first shotgun was a 20 gauge Beretta 390. It was either a 390 or a 303. Just an easy youth model, 26-inch barrel with an IC choke on it. Shoot some targets on the ground, right? Shoot when you can hit that target 10 times in a row on the ground, then we'll shoot a flying target type thing. So and that's just kind of how it started with kids, starting them out. One of the biggest things is knowing, checking their the low hanging fruit that I call it, right? Making sure the rib or the gun generally fits them, right? I don't think that the gun needs to be professionally fitted on somebody that shot less than 10,000 shotgun shells in their life, right? Like your brain's going to learn where that gun shoots regardless. And somebody who just started shooting, they're not going to mount that gun the same every time. They're not going to see that sight picture the same every time. You know, sometimes they're going to see the barrel, sometimes they're going to see the bird. It's not that big of a deal to me. Figuring out eye dominance is a big deal.
What's your preferred method for that?
Yes, right. Like there's
a million ways to do it.
I've learned a lot from Dr. Colo. I don't claim to know. I don't claim to be a doctor regarding the eyes. Everything I've learned has come from people that are a lot smarter than me. The cell phone camera trick is pretty good.
Okay.
So you record, you press record on your phone, you hold your phone up, and you have the kid point right at the camera, right? Don't tell them which hand to use. Just say, throw your hand up, point right at the camera. And most of the time they'll throw if they're right-handed, they'll throw their right hand up. And let's see, where's my camera at on that? So I'm right eye dominant. So it looks something like that.
Yep.
I think I can't really see myself in the thing,
you're covering your right eye.
Covering the right eye, right? And then you throw your other hand up, boom, it should go right to the left eye. Some people sometimes you'll get one over here and one over here, and it's just like, whoa, that test doesn't work for you because something else is going on in your brain, right? Regarding right and left-handed. But generally figure out which side of the nose they're on. There is a lot of false information out there regarding eye dominance with just whatever. I'll let a doctor talk about that more than me, but I've learned a lot about it from Anthony Matarese too. It's obviously you've heard of him, professional shooter, world champion. He's got 3 or 4 daughters, right? So young girls, their eye dominance tends to work a little bit differently than young boys, right? So it doesn't kind of settle down until they're a little bit older, right? So
that's interesting.
It can change and shift a little. It's kind of rare to have a young woman who's strong, like R1 right over the pupil, right or left.
That's my kids. That's both my girls. I shouldn't say that. My oldest is definitely like, kind of maybe right eye dominant.
Yeah.
Maybe can't really tell. So I'm like, we'll teach you to shoot for now. Let's start with right-handed.
Yeah.
And if we need to switch to left-handed, I think it's easier especially when they're young, to get those mechanics switched over to a left side and reteach some mechanics versus if I'm fighting an eye dominance issue, holy smokes, man. But I can't tell. I can't tell right now.
If you can find a good instructor near you.
That's the hard part living in Wyoming.
Yeah.
It's like
a good instructor.
You're talking about all these complexes and everything. And we've got shooting complexes, but they're not like what you're talking about. And that's the hard part about living where we live is there's a massive amount of travel involved with it. We're talking hours to get to some place.
That's how it is when we're in Nebraska. We're like, hey, where's the closest Bass Pro? We need more ammo. And they're like, yeah, it's right up the road in such and such town. You look at the maps, 4.5 hours away.
Yep.
Like, this is not right up the road. I could be in Florida from my house in 4.5 hours.
It's the same reason I don't hunt and test dogs.
Yeah.
Because it's so far to go
it's like traveling.
And like I told my wife, I said, if we were no kids, we'd be shooting competitively and training dogs. And doing that stuff, but with kids, it just don't work.
With the kids, if you can generally figure out which side of the nose they're on, right, whether they're right eye or left eye, whether it's an R2 or an R1 or whatever, and start them off that hand, it's a right eye dominant, right-handed. Early, it's much easier. It is really, really hard to switch. There's only been there's a female in our sport, Ashley Little. She did it and won a ladies world championship at one point, switching from right to left-handed, but that doesn't happen very often. Like, when I get students that are shooting wrong-handed, wrong eye dominant, older people, first thing I ask them is, can you wipe your butt left-handed, right? And they just kind of look at me and they're like, what? And they're like, no, not really. Not that I think, well, you're not going to be able to shoot left-handed, right?
There you go.
Unless you plan on shooting 10,000 shells a month for 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? So there's things you can do when there's eye dominance issues like that, like patching, or, worst case, you just have them closed out together. Some people have to do that. That's the answer for them. They're just going to be they're going to be a one-eye shooter, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Like it's all about what the shooter's goals are. If the shooter's goal is to eventually, make it into master class and have success and try to win some stuff, it's like, okay, here, cool. You need to switch to right-handed with both eyes open, and you need to shoot as many shells as you can afford until you make it in a position to where you win, right? Like that's just how that works. But with kids, it's just kind of figuring out the eye dominance early, like and then you get into R1 and R2, so it'll look like their perceived dominance is kind of over their tear duct, some people, right? So they're right eye dominant, but it's close to their nose. So then there's different ways you can set up a shotgun to where I hold the barrel by the end and look down the rib, and I try to make the rib flow into the tear duct section of their eye instead of directly over their pupil. I'm not a gun fitter. I spend a lot of time with gun fitters,
Right.
Picking their brains, but that's just kind of the easy, quick way to do it. I mean, with a lot of people get wrapped around the hinge with having to have an adjustable stock. My dad made all my guns fit me when I was a kid with moleskin, cardboard, washers, sandpaper. It's too easy to get a gun just to fit you while you learn how to shoot.
Well, it's so many guns today. I bought a little, actually Grandpa bought it but I think it's a Franke Affinity. Yeah. It's a youth model.
Yeah.
But it comes with all the spacers. It comes with shims. I mean, there's a million different things you can do, and it's not the only one. The Weatherby Sorex is that way. I can't even name a gun right now off the top of my head that doesn't have some adjustability to it.
Yeah.
Right out of the box. It's companies have figured that out, that if we can get a gun to fit everybody or the majority of folks, we're going to sell a lot more of them.
Yeah. Yeah. My opinion is everybody should start off on a flat rib, just a flat rib shotgun, decently long barrel. I shoot for a company called Zoli. I shoot high end over and unders and whatnot in competition. And, I don't have any problem saying I think kids, for kids, automatics, light, low recoil automatics. The worst thing you could do is take your 10-year-old out shooting, give him a bunch of ounce and an eighth or ounce and a quarter, and you don't know what you're doing, and he gets punched in the face all day and he never wants to do it again.
Yep.
Right. They build, people will start building just recoil sensations, right? Like your shoulder tenses up at the end of the shot, or you pick your head up off the gun, or you close your eyes. Some people just flat out close their eyes when they pull the trigger because they know it's going to hurt, right? So 20 gauges or 7/8 ounce, like training loads, you can find. What Federal makes I sell a bunch of 1 ounce 1180 Top Gun. It's a cheaper, lower end shell. It doesn't have any recoil to it, and they make all those same speeds and same loads in 20 gauge. So low pressure, low recoil, easy to shoot guns until you know whether the kid's got an interest in it or not. And that way you're not buying a $15,000 shotgun right off the rip that doesn't fit the kid. He's not strong enough to hold it up, and it just kind of ruins the experience for him.
That's why I haven't pushed it. We started out with a little single shot Rossi 410.
Yeah.
The thing's tiny, dude.
Yeah.
And that was right around COVID. And so trying to find 2.5 inch 410 loads was almost impossible. I was able to get some, and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to shoot this gun first just to see, because this is like 4, 5, 6-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll bet this gun's so light. I'll bet even with 2.5 inch loads, it's got some snort to it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I shot it first, because I was like, oh wow, that's way more recoil than a 5-year-old or 6-year-old can handle.
Yeah.
So then we went to the 22 and shooting a 22 and shooting grouse in the mountains and shooting clay pigeons with a 22 and supported. It's in a vise. They're shooting it, just learning trigger control, learning the sight picture, all those things. And 2 years ago, when my oldest was 8, went out turkey hunting. We'd practiced and had her shooting a little bit of moving stuff. Not crazy, but kind of like a swinging target or something like
Yeah.
you were talking about. And Leupold red dot on the 410. And she went out and I called this bird in and he hung up at about, he came into about 20 and he didn't finish. And, she's jacked up, breathing. I can hear her breathing hard and got the gun mounted up. And I was like, okay, put that red dot right on his neck and shoot him.
Yeah.
And nothing. And he starts walking away, turkey head bob, doing the old turkey head bob. And I'm going, I don't think this is going to happen. And I told her, I was like, sweetie, if you're going to shoot, if you're going to kill him, you got to do it now. He's out to about 30. And she pulls the trigger and smokes him. Just smokes him. Yeah.
Oh,
3-inch 9 smokes him.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking 40, 40, and then he's gone. You know what I mean? And I started asking her about it. She's like, Dad, I couldn't stay on his head.
Yeah.
Because he was moving so much. I couldn't keep that red dot on his head. So I just put it out in front of him. And when he got in the, when I put it in front of him and when he walked into it, I pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty incredible for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
To be able to mentally process that, because that's like a sustained lead type concept, you know, and she did it on her own. I was like, all right, that'll work. It's interesting, dude, just to listen to your perspective on it, and I think people listening to this are going to be able to glean some of that.
Yeah.
People with kids or wives or just new shooters in general, start with the baby steps.
Yeah.
And work your way up. And I do think
guns.
if you have access, like you said, to a coach, get it. It's going to shorten your learning curve. And very few people I know start golf without taking golf lessons.
Yeah.
Most people take golf lessons. It's the same with shooting. Get somebody that can coach you and teach you.
Yep. When my dad was teaching me how to shoot when I was a kid, really the only, he taught me how to hold the gun and move the gun a little bit, but it was always look at the bird, right? See the bird. And I get so frustrated. I'm like, I am looking at it. I am seeing it. Right. And later on in my shooting, you kind of learn like what it was he was actually trying to teach me is just, I think the basic, most simple concept of shooting a shotgun, which is a lot of what I do in my own game, is just being able to move the gun the same speed of the bird all the way to the end of the shot, staying in front of the bird and seeing the bird well, right? So it's just seeing bird well, keeping my barrel in front of the bird without looking at the target, right? Like that's just the bare bones, basic, simplest concept versus, teaching a kid, okay, I want you to get behind that bird and let the bird go and then swing through the bird. No, it's not really about, it doesn't really have anything to do with the technique, right? It's the way that you're seeing the bird and it's the way that your hands and your gun and the way that you're moving the gun in a way that lets you see the bird better, right? Without seeing the barrel. It probably sounds like it's a hard topic to kind of
I try to explain that same thing, and because it's the instinctive shooting aspect. And it's like, well, what's your sight picture look like? And I'm going, if I'm missing birds, I could tell you exactly what my sight picture looks
100%.
like.
Yeah. And when you hit them, you have no idea.
No idea. I don't even see the gun. I don't even know it's there. I'm just shooting. Yeah. And it's kind of like if you're playing third base or shortstop and you field a, infield bouncer, you don't think about how far you have to throw the ball. You just throw it.
Yeah.
You just throw it, and it was the same way growing up. Dad started us off in archery, and sights were very rudimentary back then, but no sights. We started with traditional bows and we learned how to shoot instinctively. Yeah. And that transitioned over into shooting a shotgun because it's the same thing. You just shoot and your brain takes over, but I remember, there's one summer shooting skeet. I got a buddy who's travels all over. He's not sponsored or anything, but he still to this day, he travels all over shooting shoots and he's very good shooter. Yeah. But he's standing there and I started out, I was ripping 22s, 23s, running 25 occasionally, 24s. And all of a sudden I'm like shooting 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s.
Yeah.
And it was the middle stations. It was like
Yep.
3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
Those longer crossers. And he's standing there looking at me and he goes, dude, I can see the wheels start turning in your head before you even get in the box.
Yeah.
He's like, just shoot. He's like, don't think about it. Just shoot.
Yeah.
It took me all summer to break that. And finally towards, this time of summer, I was back to shooting in the 20s again. And it was just like, and I just had to stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Those birds I missed a couple and it got in my head. And then I was seeing the bird and I was thinking about my lead and I was, I'm probably pulling my head off the gun, stopping my swing. I mean, you name it, right?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. This goes back to that mental aspect of shooting.
It's so hard. I mean,
that's crazy.
Everybody kind of leans on you. You have conscious shooting and you have subconscious shooting.
Sure.
Right. And then, everybody at their local clubs, like, well, Billy told me he helped me out a lot. He said, just don't think and shoot. Just don't think and shoot. Right. Well, there's another aspect to it. I think of unconscious shooting, right? Not subconscious, not conscious, but just kind of unconscious shooting where you can break some birds, right? You're kind of tapping into the subconscious side of it, but really all you're trying to do is just keep your conscious mind to shut up, just get it to shut up and stay out of the way a little bit, right? So you're always riding the line between really conscious and subconscious, and everybody's shot a little bit knows the sensation of, let's say I have a 40-yard crosser, right? Just a straightforward 40-yard crosser. If I shoot that target and I'm thinking, just see my barrel, see my bead, see my barrel, see where I'm at the end of the shot, right? Like what you need to be able to do. You're not going to shoot a round of 100 without seeing your barrel,
right,
being a little bit more barrel aware than normal, right? But you barrel that bird and you try to hold that space open all the way across the field and you shoot and you break it, right? With me behind or the instructor behind you, your barrel is going to be looking like it's bouncing all the way across the field. It's making micro adjustments the whole time, right? It's something you're not going to feel, but it's sort of like a leverage thing. And my visual plane now is 32 inches long instead of 40 yards long, right? So then I shoot another pair and I think, okay, on this one, just see the bird, right? And you can see how much smoother the gun moves and how much easier everything happens with just seeing the bird. Whether you hit or miss that bird is just kind of, it doesn't really matter, right? In the beginning, it's hammering in the concept of being okay with like we call it a check. So being okay with the picture not looking like I think it should look, right? So I'm shooting a big bird and I see a 50-yard crosser that I haven't seen before, right? And it's just like, okay, I know I got to get way out in front of that bird, but that's it, right? I'm watching the bird. I'm thinking about the bird. I'm trying to feed my subconscious as much information on what that bird is doing as I can. And then I'm just going to move the gun and kind of let it happen. And on a lot of shots in these big tournaments, you're going to get a feeling of no way this is going to break, right? Well, if the gun doesn't go off on the no of no way, you miss. You check, you stop your gun, you try to make a picture happen. You try to see 4 feet instead of feel 4 feet. You miss behind every single time. So I talk about that in the B of bang, right? So like when my brain says go, the trigger has to go off on the B of bang, right? Anything after that is a check. And now I'm measuring that space. I'm looking for that picture that I think is right. And it's almost never right. Right. Yeah. So I don't know if that makes sense. That might be a little bit.
It does. It 100% does. And it goes back into shotgun shooting being an art.
It is
more than like precision rifle shooting is a science. It is a science. And there's a little bit of nuance to that science aspect of it, just like there's nuance to the art side of shooting a shotgun.
Yeah.
What you were just talking about is very psychological.
It's
very proprioceptive. And there's a lot of science involved with that, but it's that letting your subconscious take over and, the bang on the B of the B, that stuff, there's an art to that just comes with, after a while and you're just doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
those older shooters you're talking about have been in those situations hundreds of times. So their body just knows. Their body and their brain just work together, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yep. And a mentor of mine told me, I didn't know this fact. He knows everything about shotguns there is to know. He lives in Houston, Texas, and a shotgun is the only gun that was not designed to kill someone when it was made. Right? Like, I can't remember what he called it, the gentleman's gun or the honorable gun or something like that. But a shotgun was not designed for combat when it was made. It was designed for game hunting. So that's pretty cool to think of, and just in the general, the way that you move a shotgun is more like swinging a golf club. The way that you're thinking about what you're doing with the shotgun is more like swinging a golf club. I mean, there's some concepts from pistol and rifle that I kind of transfer over into my game, but the majority of it is just a really, really hard mind game.
Right.
Is what it is. I mean, it's a game of repetition where if you try to repeat what you just did on the pair before, you're going to miss.
Sure.
But the same thing that we talked about, seeing the bird versus trying to recreate how you made the picture happen versus trying to recreate the picture, right? So you hit the first pair, you get to the next pair, you kind of see that picture a little bit more than normal. You think you know how much lead he takes, you break the bird in half. Then you get to the third pair and you miss him altogether. And it's just like, how did that happen? I smashed him on the first pair. You're trying to recreate a picture instead of the action that got you to the picture. So sporting plays is really who can play the game. I mean, it is about being a good shooter. You have to be a good shooter, but it's really who can play that game better than anybody else because you're shooting 3, 4, 5 pairs at every station.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's so crazy. When you were talking about that, it reminded me of a pheasant hunt I was on last fall and was walking. Dog had just gotten birdie. My lab had just started to get birdie, and this rooster got up pretty close, and he was right in the sun. And it was like I didn't even think. I just threw the gun up, and I had a sight picture for a second, and then the sun blotted him out.
Yeah.
And I shot.
Yeah.
And he came out the other side just tumbling. And I couldn't repeat that.
Yeah.
It was just throw the gun up and shoot, and it's just crazy how your brain can just take that and tell your body what to do.
Yeah.
But it takes repetition. It takes lots and lots of that shooting to be able to do that. It's crazy.
I love shooting guns.
We're literally looking at like an hour and a half long podcast here, dude. I love it. Time has just flown. It
didn't
awesome.
Get rolling until halfway through. The video part of this one is a little bit different for me.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. This has been a great conversation.
It's been cool.
Yeah, Cam, I really appreciate your time. You are a fount of knowledge, man. And I was looking forward to this. I was super stoked and I was like, I'm going to reach out to Cameron. I'm going to see if he says yes. Cause you never know, someone like, nah, I'm not interested. I'm very, very happy you said yes. And, man, I've enjoyed our time together. I really have.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
It's been fun. Well, Cameron, best of luck on the rest of your season. Have fun on your duck hunts this fall. Dude, I'm serious.
Sir.
If you get the itch and you want to come to Wyoming, just holler at me.
Oh yeah, for sure. I do.
We got a spot in the blind anytime you want. So
all
cool,
right, buddy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and we'll catch you on the flip side, guys. Before we close, check out all of our sponsors. Thank you to Federal, obviously, great ammunition company. Thank you to Weatherby for providing great shotguns for us to shoot, and make sure you're checking out High Mountain Seasonings for all your cooking needs. And, of course, Leupold for your optics and Kryptek for your camo, guys. Those companies help us do what we do, and they're great companies to work for and work with. Till next time, we'll see you in the field.